All right, welcome to another episode of the Travel with T-Bone podcast show and all that sort of fun stuff. So today I'm going to talk about getting a driver's license in China, and that can be either for your motorcycle or for your car. And let's talk about the reasons why you should get a motorcycle. If you're looking at doing any sort of side jobs apart from your main job, I think that's a very good reason to get a car or a motorcycle or some sort of electric scooter, which you don't need a license for. The reason why I say that is because the buses and stuff can be slow, they can be late, and it can take you an hour to go from point A to point B, which would take you maybe 10 minutes by motorbike or electric scooter or whatnot to get there. So it will save you time, which can allow you to make more money if you're saving up. Also, it can allow you to travel the country and see different parts of China outside of the ESL circle, which I think is really, really important because, well, the ESL circle is a bit of a bubble, and you only get to see a bit of like a wealthier side, or at least semi-wealthy side, to China by teaching in ESL places, because English is still kind of like a luxury class, language sort of thing here in China. And if you go to different parts of the country outside of your like ESL bubble, if you will, you'll see something else that will probably enlighten you, shock you, surprise you, something along those lines. And it's definitely worth checking out. Anyway, let's get on to the video. My precursor is that the laws and stuff in China always change. If you've been here for any amount of time, you know that it's always changing and fluctuating. And so it's good to keep up on the laws about driving licenses and whatnot if you come here, because what I say may be outdated, but I'm confident, because the laws always seem to get more complex and they add on to it, that what I'm saying will have some validity somewhere. And what I'm saying also is for Americans. If you're from the UK, Canada, and anywhere else, it should be okay. But I had some special hang-ups here in Guangdong province, and you might have the same thing in another province, the same province. Who knows? But each experience seems to be their own, and this is mine. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, where am I living? If you're living in a zone where motorcycles are prohibited, you are out of the race and you've already lost for getting a motorcycle license. You can still get a car license, but you can't really get a motorcycle license. I was living in an area that prohibited motorcycles, and they wouldn't give me the physical exam at the hospital because they said, well, you can't actually get it because you live in this area, so we're not going to give you the test for a motorcycle license because you can't get it and you live here. And that was a very disappointing thing, because that's the reason why I came to China, was kind of explore, do some motorcycle trips, and see the countryside and all that fun stuff. So if you're an American, make sure you have a driver's license and a motorcycle endorsement on your driver's license. It's the quickest, easiest way, because in China there are 4 tests. If you just have your license already done, it's just 1 test to take. And if you're looking to get a motorcycle license, the test will not be in Chinese, or not in English. It used to be in English, and then they switched it to not only be in Chinese and not in English anymore. So that sucks. Then the next thing you have to do is, if you don't have a motorcycle endorsement, take a class through your community college, or you can do hot rod Harley Davidson, which, if you want to ride Harleys for a weekend and look really fucking cool, then get the hot rod Harley Davidson one, but it's $300. I think it's way, way, way too much money. Or if you don't have a community college class around you, you can take the road test at any testing center in your area and get the endorsement on your license after you pass a written test through the Secretary of State. That is through Michigan, and that's my experience. So the community college is my favorite option and the best one. It's what I did. It's $50 for the class versus $300 at Hot Rod Harley Davidson. It actually has some guy who's probably been in a lot of motorcycle crashes or has a lot of experience telling you what not to do based on his own mistakes, and then he'll analyze like road conditions and stuff with you and give you the lowdown of how it works. And it's pretty fail safe. Like, you really have to try to fail the course. It's not as easy as you'd think, but if they've got an instructor to kind of hold your hand and teach you how to do everything step by step. If you've graduated from a college, I'm sure you can pass this motorcycle test with no problem. So like I said, where do you live in China depends on whether or not you can get a bike. So I live in a tier 3 city, and because of that, getting a motorcycle is a-okay for me, or at least getting the license is a-okay for me. And the reason I say, but if you're in a tier 1 city, that's a big problem. But also remember that since you're in even though you may be in a tier 3 city, there might be areas where motorcycles are prohibited. So do not ride your motorcycle in that area, your friend's motorcycle, whatever it is, because that can get you up shit creek really quickly. Next, to get a motorcycle license, you need a medical check. And you need to get a medical check for the complete license. The complete license as in car and motorcycle. When they give you the medical check, they'll write what it's for on the test, and there's a certain lettering that they need to put on that medical test. And they know the lettering at the hospital, so you need to make sure that they do it. And you can check online to make sure that they put the right lettering as well, because they will fight you. At least the people at the hospitals I went to tried to fight me and be like, no, you can't do it. No, you shouldn't ride a motorcycle. Yes, I know it's dangerous. And they tell you all these reasons why you shouldn't ride a motorcycle or get a license in China. Wouldn't you be happier taking the bus? Oh, the bus is great. It's so fun. And it's like, okay, you're not listening to what I want. And so you really, really, really have to push and stay strong on that. For that medical check, because they might put the wrong lettering on it, and then you have to redo the hospital check. So I had to be incredibly persistent until they logged the correct information. Okay, then the next step after you get the medical check is translations. You need to have translations of the front and back of your license. That is an official translation notarized by the government, as well as your passport. In addition, as an American, I had to have a translation of the laws stating what the letters of endorsement meant on my license. So a special thanks to the Secretary of State from Michigan for helping me out with that, because I could not find the laws online stating this is what O stands for operator's license. This is what C stands for saying it's like a motorcycle endorsement. And I had to write a letter of the Secretary of State, and they had to write a personal letter back to me saying, this is what everything means. Your Secretary of State, if you're not from Michigan, might be different, and you might have better luck. But the translations, this is has to be done by the government. And the translations might not be accurate. They might be incomplete translations like mine was, which is where I had to provide extra paperwork. The translations take about 6 weeks to be done, and maybe they come back well, maybe they don't. It really depends on the person, so cross your fingers here, and you might need to either download and print off documents from your official government's websites that state what the information means if it's an incomplete translation. And that has to be translated as well. But that, in my case, may be translated by a third party that is not part of the government notarized translation facility. Whew. So that part caused me a massive amount of headaches. Next, you need photos. There's a special type of photo that they give you a certain kind of receipt that the driving schools ask for, in my case. So if you want to go and get your photos from a regular store and ask for this certain type of receipt, you are not going to be able to get it. It's only available at the government shops or probably some other shop that's been authorized by the government to provide this sort of receipt. And without it, these photos, for some reason, are not considered official photos for a driver's license. So without it, you'll be fucked and have to go back to the government building and have to get your photos taken and have the proper receipt issued. Don't lose the receipt, because then you're wasting more of your time. Okay. Once all that is done, you'll need to go to your local driving school and submit your application. Now, they might just be like the hospital folks who will try to say, no, you shouldn't drive a motorcycle, or no, you shouldn't drive a car, you should ride the bus, and give you a long list of reasons why they think you'd be much happier wasting 2 hours on a bus instead of 15 minutes on a bike or in a car. And that's where you have to be persistent again and be like, no, yes, I do want to drive. Yes, I have a license. And after much pushing and shoving, hopefully, your license and everything goes through. So once your application has been approved, you may take the written test. All that is needed, if you're from the United States, is a passed written test. So you don't have to take 4 tests like regular Chinese people. You just have to take 1 written test. So the sites that I use for the written test are ChinaDriver.org right here and ChineseDrivingTest.com. These two are pretty much solid. I practiced both of these sites until I had a 90% on average or above consistently from both sites. And so some of them are kind of common sense, like this question. In this situation, at a level crossing, you must speed up and pass. You look at the light, it's a red light. You say wrong, right? And you go through each one. Now, what you'll start to notice as you go through these is that the information is either written in Chinese, where you should learn Chinese to actually understand what's being said, so it'll help your chances with passing the test instead of guessing. And you'll also notice that sometimes the English is incorrect. And that's the way it is on the real test as well. You'll get a lot of situations where the English just makes no sense sometimes, and you're just like, what does this mean? And it's clearly a machine translation, but there's not a whole lot you can do. So you're gonna have to suck it up and try to figure out what it's trying to say. And that it's a bummer. And there's situations where the signs and stuff are Chinese signs, which makes sense that you should understand the Chinese, because if you're driving on the road, you really should understand what the sign is referring to. So learn a little bit of Chinese for the test, and it'll pay off in dividends when those questions inevitably come up. The actual test looks just like this site. You get about 90 minutes. You're in a large room full of a lot of other people, and it may be loud. It probably will be loud, and it's just kind of first come, first serve, finish it off. If you do well, they'll take you around to this area. You'll get your test issued, and it's issued the same day as you finish it. You'll probably wait 30 to 40 minutes, and then after that, you'll have your license, and you'll be pretty much ready to drive on the road, which is an awesome thing to do. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, one more thing. There's a logic to the test. Since it's either machine translated or translated by one person or 2 people, there's a logic to the test, and you start to learn the terminology and the color coding structure of the test. So by doing that, you can kind of understand things a bit better. Like red signs and stuff tend to be at the national level in China, right? Makes sense. Red is the color of China on its flag, and yellow is the province level. Then like the black and whites are like the lower local levels. So when you start to look and see the test logic, it all starts to make sense. Here's some strategies I did for the test, since there's, I think, 1,400 or so different questions. I always wrote down the answers that I got incorrect, and I reviewed the answers that I got incorrect, because there's no point in studying the information that I already know, but there's a point in studying what I don't know. So that way I could improve quickly And it took me about a week of probably a few hours each night, grinding out all the questions and understanding the logic of how it works and how it's set up. And I took the test on a Tuesday, and I passed it my first time. So it was a great success. I was pretty happy with it. And now I kind of drive around and bike in China, and it's pretty good. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll give you my best and most honest answer. I can't solve every situation because local laws in China differ from place to place to place. So what may be true in Guangdong and Foshan, where I'm at, could be very different if you're up north in, Beijing or, somewhere else like Xi'an or, Yunnan. So take this. Hopefully it helps you get a license. Hopefully it gets you driving and it gets you to explore a new and exciting side of China, or it helps you make a bit of extra money and save some time, some stress, some energy on DDs, on, buses, and allows you to explore the city. Anyway, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed it. See ya.